Hello and welcome to another podcast of Terror, a production of Galactic Netcasts. With me, as always, is Corey Big Spork Scott. How are you, Corey?
We're really sticking with that, huh? That's now the loose nickname for me. That's great.
Yep, I'm gonna make it stick until I
Mm.
come up with a new nickname for you.
That's it's nice to be compared to something that you get for free, stealing it from the front of Taco Bell.
I was gonna go with KFC, but Taco Bell has them too. I think Taco Bell has evolved to like a thicker brand of spork. A
Which
little,
is why I use the comparison.
well, it's not okay. I'll give you that. You're not a flimsy KFC spork. You are a burly Taco Bell spork, which will not fail me in my time of need. It will not snap in half while I'm trying to cut my Mexican pizza.
I am a spork of substance. Yes.
I love you, and sporks, and Taco Bell, and Mexican pizzas.
Yeah, high school, like that was the one thing that I ever wanted to eat from the school lunch was these octagon shaped Mexican pizzas. Those were the greatest things, not only because they were the only thing that had a actual flavor to them, but also because in your average food fight, they could fly like no other food stuff.
See, I'm fat and was fat in middle school, so I didn't throw food. I shoved it down my gullet.
No, but there's this beautiful moment of a food fight that I remember growing up in Michigan in high school, is that everybody's in the cafeteria, they're all just doing their shit, they're all talking and everything, and all of a sudden it gets this little bit of a lull, and you don't know why. You don't understand how all of a sudden it gets quiet, but it does. It's just not that people stop talking, but it just gets quiet and almost still. And then you just see like that one random lemon drink go flying across, and then another thing comes happening, and then just full on plates full of shit just flying everywhere, and you're just ducking under tables and throwing your friends in the way.
For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, and subscription links, go to gncast.com/pot, P-O-T. For other shows from Galactic Netcast, go to gncast.com and have yourself a fucking party. Yes, I completely changed the subject on you because I've never been in a food fight, and I don't give a shit.
I feel like you're missing out. I feel like food fights and bar fights are things that you have to do at least once.
I've never been in a fight. I punched a guy at a Slayer concert once. That was about it. I feel like that's probably the appropriate place to hit someone.
I accidentally broke a guy's arm at a Skid Row concert.
I don't know how to take that right now.
Well, I mean, it was accidentally on purpose. I purposely tried to damage somebody because I was blacking out on the main floor, and he kept hitting me in the face because he was rocking a little too hard. And then I snapped his arm over my shoulder.
See, I was curious what of Sebastian Bach's lyrics make you want to break a guy's arm, but that story makes complete sense.
It was Skid Row opening for Bon Jovi, and I don't think the story would have the same ending if it was a Bon Jovi concert.
Not at all, but I will tell you what, there were a lot of panties thrown that night. I guarantee you that.
That's true. Some of them from women.
I'm thinking about taking mine off right now, just thinking about that concert. I wasn't even there. Probably wasn't even born.
You might not have been. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. So apparently we're here to talk about stuff.
Some stuff. Scary stuff.
Scary stuff. I'm going to make you do the first news story because I haven't even finished the first season yet. Sorry.
Yes. So the first season would be something that we talked about when we did the pilot was Scream Queens. And it's been a question as to how well the show had done and if it was going to make a comeback. And apparently it has been renewed for a season 2 by Fox.
Don't call it a comeback. It's been for 1 year.
1 year, not even a year. And a lot of the stars are coming back as well, which surprised me, not so much that they bring the stars back, because I thought it would kind of follow the American Horror Story idea of having the same actors and actresses come back in the next season and play different roles in different parts. But no, according to a tweet from Leah Michelle, she's very excited that the show's coming back. And she hashtagged "Here Comes Hester," meaning that she's planning on playing the same character again. And the second season is supposed to take place in a hospital, so which is one similar to American Horror Story. I think their second season took place in a hospital, and 2 similar to Halloween 2 that Jamie Lee Curtis was in. But I didn't expect it was going to be more of these characters, especially if a lot of the actors were coming back.
But why would you expect them to be? I guess a lot of them. And mind you, I haven't seen the last 3 episodes. So I haven't seen the last episode I watched was a long time ago, but I guess everyone dies, so
A lot of people die. And
yeah.
and we also get the reveal of who did it. And so those two things kind of add up to we're not going to have the same kind of mystery unless we get a completely different killer. I can understand wanting to use the Red Devil again because it was at least an intriguing visual, and it's not always easy to come up with those types of serial killers. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm disappointed yet or excited. I liked the first season, so I'll definitely come in for more for the second season. My wife loved the first season. It's just how much can they surprise us with more of the same versus what I thought they would do, which would be something a little different.
Yeah, but if you consider American Horror Story, which is the same creator, every season he does something to surprise you. I mean, it's not every episode is as awesome as you know in the earlier seasons. The new season's getting a little drawn out, kind of stupid, but he still does things that can surprise you. So it wouldn't surprise it wouldn't surprise me to see him surprise the viewers even with a second season. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, the second horror sequels is something that happens a lot, and so I can at least see trying to do that aspect of it. I still know what you did last summer, or Scream 2,
or Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream 5, or any plethora. I mean, to be perfectly honest, you want to strike while the iron's hot, and that's get your money, get in and get out before you lose your ass.
Yeah, speaking of it, it's not just that. I mean, like I said, the numbers didn't seem like they were extremely good for what the ratings were saying, but I guess this did very, very well as an on-demand streaming, as opposed to watching it live or watching it on the DVR. Those numbers weren't exactly great, but it was the number one show, according to Fox, for video on demand and the number one series in social media.
But think of how many people wait for an entire season of something to come out and they watch it all at once.
Yeah.
Netflix has huge success with doing that. Now, the downside is you're waiting longer between seasons.
Yes.
You get it all at once and you got to wait for them to produce and put out the entire next season. But people don't really seem to care. People still
that's a point about where we are with things like Nielsen ratings and stuff, is that shit doesn't matter anymore. We don't look at TV the same way. We don't even watch it on TV a lot of the time. We're watching it on our phones or on our tablets. We're watching it on the go. We're watching it on Roku devices or through Plex servers or whatever. And that changes the entire dynamic of what television is. But it's a little confusing as to how to make a successful network or keep a show on the air in any way, shape, or form if you can't tie advertising to it. So, as may, I'm glad it's coming back.
You think about it, I mean, there's a huge success rate with Netflix TV shows. So instead of having advertising dollars, you're paying a subscription fee to watch it on a streaming service, which there's comedy, stand-up comedy specials are coming out. There's TV shows, there are movies that go direct to Netflix. People will pay for quality content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like, I love free shit. Do not get me wrong. But I am more than willing to pay for something that I see a value in, I guess. I mean,
yeah, and that means you've got to make it available to me on my terms. You have to make it easy to get to. Yes. You've got to make it compelling.
I mean, keep in mind the only reason that we have cable is to watch football, because there is no streaming football service in the United States. If I was in the UK, I could get NFL Go or NFL Anywhere or whatever. But it's like I'm being punished for living in the United States. Therefore, I have to purchase cable. Fuck you, NFL. Yeah. Which sucks. But, we still have Netflix and Plex and all that shit too. So it's completely forgot where I'm going. Bring the bus back, Corey.
Yeah, let's go on to the next story. I think we're just... I'm excited for season 2. You're still in the middle of season 1, but you seem to be enjoying it for the most part.
Yeah, I'll make a point to finish that so we can do the season 1 episode in the near future.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with seeing Jamie Lee Curtis come back in any regard. So, second story, J.J. Abrams released what we're guessing is the sequel to Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane, the trailer for a movie that nobody knew that he was making.
See, and I have not watched the trailer, but my question was going to be if it's the Cloverfield sequel, which everyone kept saying was going to happen. It's kind of happening.
The trailer it's John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and some guy that I kept thinking, oh, it's John Gallagher Jr. I have no idea who that is. I thought for some reason it was Jason Sudeikis as I was watching it.
So, how much have you paid attention? Like, have you watched the trailer? Do you know anything about this?
Yeah. So, I haven't seen the movie The Room, but for some reason, the impressions that I have of The Room reminded me of that, in the fact that there is essentially a bunker that Goodman, John Gallagher, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead are in. And it starts out with them all kind of living their lives. It's a little bit like the movie Blast from the Past with Alicia Silverstone and Brendan Fraser, where they're just down there. And for the most part, it seems like their lives are okay, but it's like, why are they all in this bunker? And then it gets more serious, and you see that Goodman's character is keeping the other two hostage, keeping them there against their will. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she kind of like breaks out of it, gets running up the steps, gets through the first door, and Goodman's at that door, and he's like, no, you can't open the other door. They're going to see us. They're going to find us. She looks through the window of the second door as she's about to open it, and she just freezes. So it's a question of, has he been keeping them there to protect them? Has he been keeping them there because he's crazy? You don't know. But since it seems as though it's related to Cloverfield,
it's on the IMDb page. It is listed as following Cloverfield, so it appears to be the sequel. I did some poking around on the IMDb page, and it appears to be the sequel.
I mean, that's what people are assuming of it at this point. But we don't have a lot of details outside of what they've shown us. And since they didn't really tell us about it.
I mean, I was surprised to see that it comes out on March 11th. So, I mean, less than 2 months away.
Yeah.
It's cool because that means that we won't really have to wait forever to get the answers. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I remember watching Cloverfield and being kind of annoyed because nothing gets answered. You never really see the monster. So I'm hoping this answers a lot of those questions.
Yeah, and it doesn't do any of the stuff with the camera guy running around. It's not that kind of movie. I
think found footage movies are kind of done.
I don't know if I would have been interested if it had been another found footage. I mean, Cloverfield, I didn't love, I didn't hate. I enjoyed it when I watched it, but it was kind of, once it was done, it was forgettable. I was happier about the cast, I think, than anything. And it was interesting to me. But J.J. Abrams, honestly, even taking Star Wars into account, has been really hit or miss for me. Some stuff has seemed to have so much potential, and then it just doesn't quite add up to what I want out of it. But that's an expectation that maybe isn't realistic going in anyways. So,
I mean, I guess that's what happens when you have some really good movies early in your career, and you put out some shit. Like, people, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but I mean, if you start out and you put out something really awesome, regardless if it's a movie or whatever, and then you follow it up with something that's less than what people thought of the first one, you're going to get shit on. Now, if it's been the other way around, probably be a different story. But set the bar low.
Yeah.
As low as humanly possible. That is probably the only reason I'm married and have a job, because I make people keep their expectations low.
Yes. And speaking of keeping your expectations low, hey, you can find out more about us and the Galactic Netcast by going to gncast.com, and you can support our low expectation shows by supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Galactic Netcast. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us continue to keep being mediocre. And if you want to get more of our mediocre shit, for $3 a month, you would get our once-a-month newsletter, including extra stories related to all of our podcasts. And $5 will get you an extra episode of each of our podcasts, available exclusively to our patrons. you can just get all the somewhat, maybe a little interesting in a distracting kind of way shows from us and our friends.
We were friends with these people.
I like to know that that Brad thinks highly of me.
I'm convinced Brad secretly wants to murder me.
Yes, that's as a favor to me.
What?
I've been co-hosting too long, Dick. Just saying, ready to take this shit over.
Someone turned into a jealous girlfriend.
It's kind of like the robots getting self-awareness and deciding that the best way to protect humanity is just to kill it all. I've been trying to steer this bus back on track for like 4 months, and the best way to do that is to kill the bus driver.
So I think we're gonna have an opening for a co-host. So if anyone wants to hang out with me on the internet,
if you want the shows to be 4 hours long, vote Matt Vincent. You can also find at thehate.com, THEHVIII.com. And when you're there, you can also pick up some of his cool shit, like his t-shirts and mugs and different things like that, with a special discount. If you use a code KICK15, you get 15% off your order.
Don't forget the Stratosphere merch.
I wasn't going to forget it, but I felt like maybe I'd switch it up every episode instead of talking about everything. But why do that when we can just overload you now? StratosphereMerch.com, another great site. And they actually just released a bunch of shirts over the weekend. So it would be a great time to use our coupon code TEAR for 15% off your order there.
And from what I heard, you haven't ordered a shirt yet, so get on that.
I am quite poor.
God damn it.
We just bought a couch. We bought a sofa last week. And as much as I will never get to sit on it because it's strictly for my wife doing artwork, and that itself makes it worth it. I came home today and I walked in and she's sitting in the living room finishing up her drawing, and it smelled like mold. And I'm like, why does it smell like mold in the house? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And the door's open. I'm like, well, maybe it's from outside. Please tell me that there's not mold that suddenly appeared in my house to have the strong of a smell when I walk in. And it turns out it wasn't mold. One of the burners on the stove was just opened up, gas just pouring out into the whole house.
Wow,
maybe that's why I'm being an asshole.
You're not any more of an asshole than usual.
Well, that's good.
Well, moral of the story: treat yourself. Get you some shirts. Both Stratosphere and Hate use their next level shirts. They're the company's next level. They're fucking awesome. I pretty much wear them exclusively. So
they really are nice stuff. That Stratosphere merch, I was looking at some great designs on that one this week.
Yeah, funny story. So I was in Minneapolis this weekend with Brad, who does all the Stratosphere merch, and we went to breakfast at a place called Cook in St. Paul, and we were both wearing one of his sweatshirts. He primarily wears his clothes, which I completely understand, and I chose to wear one that weekend. And the owner actually came out and sat and talked to us, so it sounds like Brad's going to be doing the design and shirts for a restaurant now.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, the place had, get you this, short rib eggs Benedict.
Oh, wow.
And they make their own hot sauce, and they have bread pudding French toast. They fucking make bread pudding, form it into a bread loaf, bake it, and then make French toast out of it.
God damn.
I know. I'm like, we have to come back to this place.
I could see it working the other way much easier. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's super good. And the owner was incredibly nice. And yeah, so if you happen to be in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, or within 4 hours drive to Cook in St. Paul, and fucking eat that place. Oh, God, it's so good. I can't wait to go back.
Speaking of eating it, we watched California this week, a 90s movie.
Yeah, and it was actually an avid listener recommendation. A very, very good friend of mine, Seth Wolf, recommended we watch California. It's a little different than what we normally do. So we set out when we did this podcast to do all things scary. So we went a little off the beaten path, and California is a crime thriller, which it's not your standard scary, but I really feel like there were parts that could have gotten into someone's head.
Yeah, I mean, as far as movies that we usually watch, this had a pretty stellar cast, and people who obviously in '93, which this was filmed, and it looks it, maybe still kind of young in their careers. Brad Pitt was early Grace, Juliette Lewis as Adele Connors. David Duchovny with both ears pierced, which is always weird to me. And Michelle Forbes, who I instantly saw her. I'm like, oh my God, it's Ensign Rowe from Star Trek Next Generation. That's what I know her from. It's not even close to all that she's done, but that's like right what I go to. It's like she was the hot Bajoran chick on Star Trek TNG.
I just remember being incredibly uncomfortable when Brad Pitt was just banging her up against the wall.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this movie was directed by Dominic Sena. It was his first directing of a film.
John Cena?
Dom Cena.
John Cena. He's now John Cena from here on out.
Okay. And he was mostly a music video director before moving into films. And I don't know that he's had a lot of movies, but the movies he's done, Gone in 60 Seconds, Swordfish, not a lot of things that I would say go to the top of my list. A movie called 13 Graves, another one called Season of the Witch. So maybe more stuff that he would wind up on our list for the show. And Whiteout, which was actually a movie based off of a very good comic. It's not exactly as good. But yeah, so this kind of was, it's very 90s. It felt so incredibly 90s in every way of it, like early 90s around that time. And I know that I think when we talked about doing this, I was kind of confused because I kept seeing California pop up and I'm like, but it's got Juliette Lewis, and I kept getting confused with what was the, god damn it, we talked about this, the Oliver Stone movie.
Son of a bitch. I gotta look up Juliette Lewis's IMDb quick. Oh, Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers, right.
Which I think is a natural born piece of shit.
It absolutely is. So we'll wind up reviewing that here, I'm sure.
No. I'm going to say no to that unless a guest comes on and they're like, I really want to do Natural Born Killers.
Exactly. That's it. That's the way to fuck us now. That's the way you fuck us, is you just say, hey, here's a nice piece of shit, and you guys should watch and review it. And we will, because we love you.
Calm your tits. Holy shit, man.
My tits really can't be calmed.
Good. Fun fact before we start to talk about the movie. Brad Pitt, who plays Early Grace, which is a fucking crazy name, his tooth is chipped, and apparently he visited a dentist to have his tooth like professionally chipped for the movie.
Oh, so not even like the Ed Helms thing for The Hangover, where his tooth was actually fake already, and so they were just able to take out the fake one for the film. This was, oh no, do this.
Professionally had his tooth chipped. That's
like Madonna having a gap put in her teeth because she wanted to look more British.
Oh, whatever. Madonna's a fucking whore. Also, I really felt like this movie, like, Brad Pitt is a good actor. I've always thought Brad Pitt is a good actor, but I never really came across this movie. I did not know of its existence until it was recommended to watch it. He does a really good job of playing like a fucking weird creep guy, like a dirty down south rednecky serial killer. Like the fact that he can go from like giggling to just like his murder face, it was really impressive to me.
Yeah, Brad Pitt is a great character actor when he wants to be. And especially at this point in time, I mean, we're seeing Brad Pitt in the bit part in True Romance, where he's the stoner guy in the trailer, smoking a bowl with the honey bear. And Brad Pitt in 12 Monkeys, where he's completely over the rail psychotic. He's a fun guy to watch play this kind of out of bounds character.
Yes.
That said, this is a hard ass movie to watch. And it's filled. Yeah, I had a tough time with it. Not so much those particular things, but definitely at the end, it comes down to some seriously fucked up shit.
Oh yeah.
And one of just the most saddest things in the world, which is the Juliette Lewis character, who is the sweetest fucking character in the goddamn universe in this movie. Mm-hmm. You just kind of can't help but want to take her home and adopt her like a sick kitten.
I was thinking a puppy, but yeah, sick kitten works too.
Yeah, she's so goddamn sweet.
She's so naive. You know what I mean? Like she's so stupid and has no idea what's happening. And like this movie, in my opinion, is like the embodiment of the phrase that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you always kind of know what's going to happen. If you know the premise, at least somewhat of the premise of the movie going into it, you kind of know where it's leading to. Now, there's over an hour's worth of just them kind of building up to it, and you start to hear that Early is beating Adele, and
Yeah, let's go back. David Duchovny's character is a writer.
who looks
His
like
girlfriend, Michelle Forbes, is a photographer slash artist, and he was a magazine writer that wrote an article about a serial killer, and then they wanted him to write a book, so he took the advance, and he realized that writing a book is fucking hard.
Mhm.
So he kind of changes it up. He goes from one story that they're doing to now I want to tell a story about all these different serial killers around the United States as we're trying to make our way to California. And you'll take pictures and I'll write the book and it'll be great, but we're not really financially well off enough to do this on our own. So we'll have to do a ride share with some people. So he posts this ad at a local college to ask for people to ride along with them, share some of the financial hits, and share some of the driving so they don't have to stop as often. And they meet up with Early and Adele,
which all of the locations where the serial killer events take place are related to the names of the actors in the movie, such as Lewiston Ranch, Mount Juliet, Texas, for Juliette Lewis, Forbes, Tennessee, for Michelle Forbes, Davidson Mine in Dew Cove, Nevada, for David Duchovny, and Bradbury Textile Warehouse in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for Brad Pitt.
Look at you bringing the shit. What the hell? Was that just off the top of your head, Rain Man, or did you actually read something?
No. IMDb has a bunch of trivia on it.
Yeah.
It was mentioned to me about the tooth chipping thing, so I looked it up prior, and there's just a whole list. And I thought that was the most interesting because it kind of it shows a lot of thought in the writing of the movie.
Yeah. No, that was solid.
I blacked out and just started talking, and that's what came out of my mouth.
Usually it's not coming out of your mouth. So we see Early kill people at the very beginning. We get no explanation as to why, and I can't tell if it was like he had a mat on for these people, or if it was just, no, I just want to randomly kill some people, so I'm going to throw this rock over an overpass and hit the car that's driving underneath. There was a story that was being built between the young woman caught in the rain who gets picked up by this married stranger in the car. You see that something is going to happen in that story. No. Instead, rock from above hits the windshield, knocks the car way the fuck off course, so it flips over. The guy comes crawling out, and Pitt just finishes the whole thing off. We get nothing else of that story, and that was kind of like, okay, so we're just supposed to know that this guy is psychotic now.
Which I don't know if that part really needed to happen.
Right.
That's
kind of my feeling too.
The movie may have been even better if you didn't know that he really I mean, it's really hard to go into a movie where you know Brad Pitt's a serial killer and not know he's a serial killer. If that makes sense? But it would be better if just like all of a sudden he has this crazy mean streak where he kills a guy for his money to pay for gas, and then the whole gas station scene is really where it took the dark turn, because like fuck Michelle Forbes' character.
Carrie.
Carrie, sorry. Carrie kind of has this feeling that Early's a bad guy and that he's not, but it's all based on the fact that he beats Adele. It had nothing to do with anything, but there's the foreshadowing where they're in the hotel room and she's like, well, he could have been in prison for murder.
Yeah. I mean, he automatically starts focusing on her as soon as they meet up. He cuts Adele's hair in her sleep or whatever to make it look more like hers. And then Carrie goes and helps her fix it later on. It's this whole thing is David Duchovny's character is just so bland and doesn't kind of connect to anything. He's trying to write, but he doesn't have balls. That's kind of what this thing is saying. And I've seen a few comparisons of saying this is saying that that the Democratic not liking guns, not liking the death penalty guy is wrong, and he's taught that by the murdering backwater hick serial killer, who will just jump into anything, and he like teaches him how to be a man by killing a bunch of people and raping his girlfriend and shit.
So I had to go back and like watch the end again because I wasn't paying full attention during that end scene where it's pretty much spelled out for you without saying that Carrie was raped. But like I don't know, that was insane. Plus, not only that, but fucking God damn it, Brian smacks early in the face with a shovel, and just like the visual of him laying on the ground with his nose broken and stuff was pretty intense. The ending was insane.
Yeah,
just
and
early talking and the shit he's saying that makes no sense, and it makes him sound just so much crazier.
Yeah, he keeps talking about opening doors and doorways into other dimensions and stuff, and he's having these conversations with Brian about it at the bar on the way to the bar, and then he just beats the shit out of some guy in the bar, which at that point in time is kind of in defense of Brian. So there are times when it seems like in all of this, he's trying to be their friend. He's trying to be Brian's friend in almost in a dad sort of way of like teaching him what the world is supposed to be about. While Brian's trying to figure out, well, do you get this from your dad, or do serial killers get this stuff from things? And so even as they're talking about one of the serial killers, Early gives his opinion on it. And I love the way that Early does things. It's like, oh, you're taking a picture. Well, put me in the picture. And oh, you're recording your ideas about these killers. Well, if I'm going to tell you my thoughts on it, why aren't you recording me? So he really wants to be involved, and he really wants to have some sort of importance to it. But it's just totally fucked up. And when Duchovny goes to save Carrie, he like gets up, manages to get away because the old woman like gives him her truck. Then he just randomly fucks up and drives off the road on the way to save her. So that's why the rape thing happened. Again, another scene that I don't think needed to be in there. I don't think it had to go to that point, but it was just so 80s, 90s to give motivation to the guy to have him kill the bad guy. We have to do something damaging to his girlfriend or whatever. And that never sits right with me.
Well, I feel like it was just kind of an icing on the cake. The whole like side story where Early was really, really into Carrie and he was creepy about it.
Yeah, but he was already creepy. Everything that needed to be said about that was already there. So it was just kind of like, and then we actually had to make it happen. I don't know. I'm not saying that it went too far. It's just for me, it's one of those things that is a peeve of mine. I don't like that kind of storytelling to begin with. And so to see it be like we could have done without it, but we just had to kind of like finish it off, that bugs me in a way. On the other hand, the performances from Pitt and Juliette Lewis were phenomenal. It was great acting from two very great actors in a movie that I would like to never see again.
I don't know. I mean, I actually really enjoyed this movie.
I enjoyed them. And I enjoyed the character interaction between the two couples a lot. But when it starts to go crazy is when I kind of felt I checked out a little bit. It seemed like it just went from 0 to 60 too fast, which is funny because that's his other movie.
Wow. I agree that it took that turn too quickly, but I feel like that just, I don't know. I kind of like the fact that it didn't like slowly ramp up. Like it happened, and it happened quick because it just made it that much more drastic of a situation to be involved in.
I just didn't feel like, again, because Duchovny's character was so kind of wishy-washy, I don't really feel like the ending was earned for the heroic saving. And then after that, when everything finishes off and he and Carrie are together and living in California and just kind of going about their lives, it felt so uneventful at that point. You know, he's in there listening to the tapes of what happened, of some of the things that Early had said on the tape.
Yeah.
She walks in and she doesn't even look like, why are you fucking listening to this asshole who killed a bunch of people in front of us and raped me? Let's go get lunch.
I feel like the end was simply put in just because.
And
And I mean, at the complete end of the movie, when the tapes, the tape keeps going and they get up and leave, and then it's just Adele talking about how her and Early have no friends.
yeah.
And, oh, dude, that was heartbreaking. But
fucking A, man.
I feel like they just kind of put it in there just to put it in there.
Yeah. I mean,
because when they're driving away from the house, they show Adele's body, which you already know she's dead.
Right.
So the fact that they show her laying there was weird, but
it was to take away any kind of possibility of her being alive. It was to show how much. But again, that's a thing that if that scene's going to happen, and that scene, it made sense that scene happened. She was the heart of him. She was the goodness that he kept around, but it wasn't like he really cared that she was good. You know, he was already looking to replace her.
Yeah.
But it was that he felt one moment of, don't make me do this. What the fuck? And then he does it. I just feel like that should have been explored more than some of the other scenes that they chose to do instead, because that was truly a tragedy. Mm-hmm. You know, and this was a character that you come to, you know, feel a lot of affection for over the film. And if this point is happening, then you really need to kind of focus on that and feel the impact even more.
Yeah. All in all, I liked it. I liked the movie. I
didn't despise it. I really don't want to see it again.
Yeah, I have no need to ever see this movie again. Simply because it's a hard pill to swallow, just because it's really fucked up. But I am not upset that I had to watch it. So I'm going 3 out of 5.
I'll go 2. And that's strictly based off of the acting of Brad and Juliet.
Wow, bitch.
Some things make me uncomfortable. I'm a tender soul.
Oh, that's fine.
My wife just said shit. She said, this is shit. This movie is shit. Wow. I'm thinking about putting in a rating system of this is what the wife says. And a lot of times it's going to be this movie is shit.
Wow.
But she can't cast stones because she watched a lot of crappy movies.
So yeah, see, tell her some movies she watches are shit.
Oh, she's made suggestions as to what we should watch, and I just haven't. I don't hate you enough yet.
Ugh, God damn it. Well, someday we'll run out of stuff to watch, and we'll get to your wife's list of shit.
Yep.
If you have an idea of something that you want us to watch that Corey can say is shit, you can contact us by leaving a message at 805-328-3966 or on the website. Or you can email us at pot@gncasts.com. We have a Twitter and an Instagram that someone isn't doing shit with, Corey.
I've been on the Twitter. The Instagram, I don't know what the fuck all of that is about.
Well, ask for the fucking password. You take pictures of your cat. We're the podcast of terror, and we like pussy.
God damn it.
Both Instagram and Twitter are podcast of terror. Someday we'll make use of those. It's really hard to do like podcasty stuff on an Instagram. What am I going to do? Take a picture of my computer screen?
Be like, here I am sitting in front of the camera that you could see if you watch the fucking video.
Yeah, right. You could stare at my ugly mug some more. Outside of that, you can subscribe to this podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcatcher. That's a funny word. You can leave us a review at whichever one you like. All subscription options and links can be found on the subscribe tab on gncasts.com/pot. P-O-T for those who don't know how to spell the word pot. Finally, join our Facebook page under Galactic Netcasts to see all the dumb shit that we talk about on the internet.
Yeah, we've got other people actually do social media stuff there.
Yeah, I'm a lazy person. I'm super lazy, but
I keep wanting to do more content for Dave for the site. I just feel so bad that I often don't feel very interesting. Or the other part is I kind of feel like the stuff that we would need to post about, we need our own page for.
Yeah, and it's kind of the off season for horror. I mean, once we get closer to October and summertime, there'll be more horror stuff going on. So we'll get it. We'll get it going. We're still young. We're still prepubescent little boys in the podcast world. We're
Yeah, I
both.
was going to say my balls dropped a long time ago. I got both.
All right, weird. So where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can go to about.me/Captain Temerity and find out places that I probably also don't talk very much. But I will try to do more. And honestly, we're gonna try to make more content for the patrons. So that's what you should really try to do.
Yeah, we're still getting a hang of this, so bear with us. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Matt the Lifeguard. Also, Corey and I are on an episode of Trivia Geeks. Comes out next week, I believe, sometime Sunday, somewhere like that. Also, next week we're gonna have Carrie Sims from Trivia Geeks on. She wants to do Shaun of the Dead, so we're doing Shaun of the Dead.
That
Just
should be fun.
talking in all questions. uh, yeah. Thank you again for listening. We'll catch you guys next time.
Stay scary, everybody.
Awesome bananas.